You're listening to the Wanderlust Swingers podcast with Aussie hosts Kate and Daryl. If you're curious about exploring your sexuality or the swinging, hotwifing and non-monogamous lifestyle, you've definitely come to the right podcast. Or maybe you just love travel adventures. Either way, we share our personal, sometimes juicy, sexy stories as well as swingers club and event reviews, interviews with other sassy people, and of course our global swinging adventures. We try to bring you a look into the diverse lifestyle that the swinging and non-monogamous community has. We hope you enjoy. Now let's get into the episode. G'day guys and welcome to episode 157, the BDSM Foursome and Le Club L in Montreal review. How's it going, Daryl?
I'm doing all right.
You doing all right?
Got a dog on my lap.
Got a little penny mascot on your lap?
Yep, she's going all right.
Yeah. So we've been away for quite a few weeks and then we had a few weeks off here on hiatus in the Netherlands and just getting back into it now, but we're going to talk about our time in Montreal and we're going to talk about some of the travel that we actually had in Canada. So today, of course, I have to do a cultural tidbit first. My cultural tidbit is interesting laws in Canada.
Don't eat yellow snow.
As of 2005, Supreme Court ruling that swingers clubs or clubs that allow group sex and partner swapping do not harm Canadian society and shouldn't be considered criminal.
Why would they be considered criminal?
Well, talk to Thailand about that, talk to Indonesia, talk to Vietnam, talk to Cambodia about that. They're illegal there.
Yeah, but so's like swinging in general.
Yeah.
Was that 2005? That's when
2005.
Only then did swinging become legal, or was it just the...
I guess the swingers clubs or clubs that allow group sex and partner swapping.
Got it.
So more of a business rather than just swinging online. All right, so let's talk about part one, which was visiting Honeyspoon in their house. Now, interesting in today's episode, I'm going to cut and dice in some audio from Honeyspoon themselves. So they recorded a bit of a snapshot in their hot tub after we left, and they sent it to us, and they told us, feel free to use this wherever you like. So I'm going to cut and edit that into today's podcast. So thanks to the Honeyspoons for supplying that.
They didn't just supply that.
They didn't just supply it?
No,
okay.
Not just that. They supplied many things.
They supplied many things like charcuterie, etc.
Yes, that's exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Charcuterie.
So we stayed in their home.
I mean, shit house. It needs another story.
Yeah, it needs at least another story. They arranged for us to head out to dinner with their friends, which to me shows a lot of trust. For me, like when you are introducing one set of friends to another set of friends.
Fuck it, it's more worrisome that they show a lot of trust in me.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Like you could have really ruined their friendships and, to bring you along, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, Tuesday and all.
So what do you think about meeting their friends? Like, what was the evening like? How did you feel about it?
It was awesome. It's always really nice to catch up with people who are friends of friends because typically if you like the people, you like their friends.
That's true, yeah.
So, no, it was lovely. Interesting group, interesting eightsome.
Yep.
Which, I don't know, is that like, are we talking about a group sex dinner or group not sex dinner?
A gaggle of swingers at a restaurant?
We need to come up with a group noun for swingers.
We do. If anyone has any ideas on group nouns for swingers, feel free to send them on through.
Yeah.
Canadians continue to prove that all Canadians are sexy.
Yeah.
Now having been to Canada. So before we'd been to Canada, we were like, wait a second, we're sensing a trend. Every time we meet a new Canadian, it's like they're so lovely and they're so sexy. And now that we've been to Canada, trend confirmed.
Yeah, I think, well, certainly with those particular friends. There is a group noun for swingers.
Oh, is there?
It's a fucking great one.
What is it?
I'm so happy I Googled that.
What is it?
It's called a bed of swingers.
Oh my God, that is actually great.
Yeah, bed of swingers.
That is great.
I love it. It was a table of a bed.
Yeah.
It was a table of a bed.
Cool.
It's the fucking best thing ever.
It is good. I like that. Yeah. Any other thoughts on like visiting the Honeyspoons in their house before we move on to the next section?
House was awesome. People were lovely. Dinner was great. Da-da.
Yeah. Sweet as. Great to have you here on the show, Daryl. Thanks so much.
I mean, hang on. You didn't speak about the big hairy beast that was in the house.
Yeah, we've got to finally meet their dog. And if you have been listening to us for any amount of time, you know that we are massive animal lovers. Great to meet their family member. And, we bought a little present because you can't turn up to somebody's house without buying a present for their animals. That's just golden rule number one, right? Fuck the humans in the house, but, here's a present for your animal.
Maybe even literally.
let's talk about getting freaky in the Airbnb. So we ended
So
up...
we're not going to talk about the house anymore?
No, we're done with the house.
No? What about the friends?
The friends, they're great.
They are great. I agree.
They're all coming to Miami too, so I actually get to see them again.
Ah, fuck you, man.
Yeah, so they're all coming down from Canada and escaping and coming to Miami. So I get to see them all again.
I get to sit at home.
Suck a dick.
No, I don't get to do that. You might get to do that.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Airbnb. So we drove to Montreal.
First, I think we need to talk about something else.
What's that?
The issue that we had whilst driving. The ridiculousness.
Of needing to... Oh.
You've forgotten all about it.
I haven't.
I mean, Canada, just put in a fucking roadside service station.
Yeah.
Just anywhere. I mean, just anywhere in the entire country.
Yeah, so before we got to the Honeyspoons, we went to Toronto, which we'll talk about in another episode. We went to Niagara Falls, we did some vineyards, and then we drove the, 5.5, 6 hours to the Honeyspoons house.
Yeah.
Which isn't that far, actually. And we were thinking like, oh, great, we'll get to see some
5
Canada.
hours. It was supposed to be 5 hours.
It's supposed to be 5 or 6.
It took us longer because we had to fucking disappear off the main highway 6 times.
Yeah.
To try and find somewhere to fill up the car.
Yeah, it was getting pretty serious.
Yeah.
I was sending 1 hour. Actually, I wasn't sending them. I was collecting hour by hour video snapshots as we were progressing our way to their house. But yeah, it was a nice drive, beautiful countryside. But I mean, whack a servo off the highway. It's not hard, man.
Fuckers need a snack. Yeah. I mean, and
you were
can I
so
say,
pissed. You were so pissed we had no chips.
I mean, the person in the passenger seat, front passenger seat, what are their duties?
Music.
Yeah.
And food.
Uh-huh.
Water. Hey, you want to talk about some sex?
Yeah, but I mean, this drive's really interesting. I'm sure everyone's deeply engaged with this, thinking, holy shit, tell us more about the drive.
Okay, so we are in our hot tub Sunday evening, just reflecting on our sexy weekend. We had Kate and Daryl here after spending a week with them in Hedo and some other friends. We had them come to visit us in Ottawa.
Their first time in Canada.
Their first time in Canada. We were lucky enough for them to grace us with their presence, and they came to visit us for a couple days, which was amazing. And we headed to Montreal for one night before they had to head off from Montreal to New York City. Before we get started, how are you feeling?
I'm tired.
But are you horny? Because I'm super horny.
Yeah, I'm tired and horny.
Are you more horny than tired? I'm not sure anymore.
I don't know. They're not really the same scale.
Our time with Kate and Daryl here. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm glad they got to see the Prime Minister. I'm joking.
Did they see JT?
I'm glad they got to see a little bit of the city. I'm glad we had some quality time with wine.
A lot of wine.
So that was fun.
Like a significant amount of wine. Yeah, so the first night they were here for 2 nights. So first night, lots of wine, just catching up, charcuterie, meat pie.
Our dog loves them, and our dog doesn't love everybody. And so the fact that our dog loved Kate and Daryl is a great sign of.
And they brought a really nice gift for her as well, which was really sweet of them to do. They're just really, really sweet people. They brought us lots of nice wine and ciders and all of that. So, yeah, and then the second night they were here, we had an opportunity to take them out for dinner at our favorite restaurant in Ottawa, but also give them an opportunity to meet a few of our friends, our local friends.
Our lifestyle local friends, not our vanilla friends, because our vanilla friends suck.
So that dinner went well. What do you think?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, everyone was chatty. Everyone really connected. The friend group, both other couples listened to their podcast, so they knew about them, had a lot of questions for them. Turns out both those couples now are going to PCAP
They booked
in October.
I'm so excited.
That's
I'm
awesome.
so excited. Yeah, so wonderful dinner.
So we hired an Airbnb in Montreal, and the night before at their house, we'd kind of discussed our intentions for play. And Mr. Honeyspoon shared, I guess, some fantasy and some sexual interest that Mrs.
Isn't he
Honeyspoon...
just spoon? Like there's honey and spoon?
No, that's not how they do it.
I feel like that's how it should be.
You want to do...
That's how it's going to be.
Well, can he be the honey and she be the spoon? Just
No,
to
that's weird.
break the gender roles that you're, pushing onto them?
Why is that a gender role?
I don't know. I feel like honey
Why is honey gender? Where's the gender in honey?
I don't know. I just feel like that's such a female... Anyway,
For
let's
those
move
of
on.
you out there who identify as honey, can you help us understand if where it fits on the spectrum?
Yeah. So we had discussed the interest to play and I guess some sexual fantasies or sexual interest the night before.
So leading up to Montreal, we came home that night. We opened up a bottle of champagne. We were just chatting, and we sort of addressed the elephant in the room, which was the fact that we have known each other for 2.5 years, most of it being quite virtual, and we have not broached the...
Except for events, yeah.
Except for events. We had not really broached the intimacy, transition, which I think everybody struggles with. The concept of we all want to be intentional. We all want to do this. Let's have a conversation about how this is going to happen before we run out of time. And then we are in different countries across the world from one another, and we're still not intimate.
Yes, and while we were in our house, there wasn't complexities. It didn't allow that to happen.
Correct.
So since we were going to an Airbnb in Montreal, it meant for a little more opportunity, let's say.
Yeah. So I'll say the first thing I'll say is I was really impressed by both Kate and Daryl for talking about it. I felt the need to take them to Montreal and entertain them and show them, old Montreal and do all of that. And I was really happy that they said, you know what, we're here to see you guys and we want to spend time together. So we really had a real conversation about, we don't need to do all these things. Let's just go to Montreal and get sexy, which I thought was like a pro move.
Yeah, I had to throw out my 8-hour tour plan that I had developed over 2 weeks. All the sites within 8 hours. It was quite comprehensive, but I didn't mention that.
Yeah, that's fine. It's okay.
And so then we roll into this Airbnb, kind of get ourselves situated. What did you do? What did we all do? We did what? Daryl? A freshen up, right?
No,
Yeah, we did freshen up.
didn't do any of that shit.
So basically what happened was we all decided that, okay, we were driving, we went out, we got all the wine.
And we're back to driving. Should we talk more about the driving?
And then we all freshened up and went and had showers and got into some lingerie.
Hang on. Whoa. A shower is not a freshen up.
Shower's like a freshen up plus.
A freshen up XL.
Yeah, like if you were going to freshen up and then if you're going to go like freshen up platinum.
Yeah, but
that's a shower.
This whole freshen up thing.
This is what regular.
Yeah, but it's not a freshen up when you take a shower. It's just a fucking shower. So let's not give two names to one thing.
Yeah, it is.
I'm going for a shower now.
So we didn't waste time. We decided we're going to cancel dinner because they were originally thinking about going out for dinner and we're like, let's just not do that and let's just cancel dinner. Bless them. I think they were trying to arrange like, hey, you've come all this way. We definitely want to show you some of the sights and some of the city and stuff like that. And we were like, no.
We had other sites in mind. Certainly I did.
How about we don't do any of that, right? And how about we just cancel dinner? So we got on our lingerie and, it's funny.
It's not funny when you're in your lingerie. It's actually quite sexy.
When we're packing the car, they had like 4 bags. And I was like, Jesus, guys, you're going for like one day. You've got almost as much luggage as we've had for 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
I know now why, is because they packed like lights and music and bed stuff and sex toys and lingerie and like basically this whole assortment. So when
and wine.
And wine.
They also brought wine.
They bought all the wines.
I mean, these fuckers, they got their shit.
They got their shit
organised.
sorted, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that room, I felt like I was walking into a
chicken
middle
wow, wow.
80s discotheque. You know? Yeah. I felt like I should have thrown on a moustache for being in there.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a really, really sexy environment that they'd kind of set up. So I understand now why they had so much goddamn luggage is because they were carting all of that with them.
Yeah, especially given that, one of them's quite wee.
Yeah.
To coin a Scottish ism. And she's not, like I figured 2 of her shoes would fit inside one of my shoes. I'm enjoying this. I mean, I'm going to keep you away from this sex story as long as I can. It seems to be riling. I can see your eyeballs
making me
starting
so mad,
starting to twitch. It's
and
awesome.
and it's making me very furious.
Okay. So let's get back to the sex.
So it started with you flogging Mrs Honeyspoon. So can you run us through that?
Yes. That was a pause just to see Kate rile up again. So yeah, I mean, I may have actually just taken over a little because there was already some flogging going on from Mr. Honeyspoon. There was some light whipping, light flogging with something that was, relatively sturdy, I would say. But I was surprised. I didn't realize how much she actually enjoyed a reasonably firm flog, which was quite cool. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not the best at it. I've had some instruction, I suppose. You've
had a crack at it?
From the law, for those of you. There's a fucking throwback.
Yeah.
A long time ago. So it was, it was really cool to see her reactions to that.
Yeah, when you started flogging her, I heard her say you're at about a 4.
I know.
And interestingly enough, the same thing happened actually, and we'll be talking about our trip to hedonism in a future episode. But I actually gave her a bit of a flog in Hedo one night, and she was like, oh, that's like a 4. And I was like, okay, well, it's interesting how different people approach different things, right? And so I remember at one point she said to you, that's about a 4, and you went firmer with her. And that's when she really started actually enjoying it and was telling you, harder and how much she was enjoying it. So that was really interesting to see because everybody's levels are so vastly different, right? And when somebody does...
Yeah, for you, that's like a 10.
Yeah, for me, that would have been way, too much for me. When she was at a 4, I probably would have been at maybe like a 6 or a 7, So it's just interesting. And it's always something to be mindful of if you're going to be doing those kinds of things with your lifestyle friends, is that everybody is so different in that regard that like just don't start at your 4 because it could be somebody else's 8, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
I was just standing back in my lingerie drinking wine, watching the whole thing unfold.
So pretty standard Kate.
Pretty standard Kate.
Except normally there's no lingerie.
Yeah.
Just standing back with your glass of wine.
Now, before this, we had actually...
Which you didn't bring, I might add.
No, I didn't bring. Thanks, Mr. Honeyspoon. We actually had tried to find a spreader bar. So the night before when we were talking about the potential of this kind of play, we talked about a spreader bar, and so we went to 3 different stores in the neighborhood where we were staying in Montreal, and none of them had spreader bars. We did try, went to like 3 different stores, and alas, no spreader bars to be had at any of the stores. A hell of a lot of like handmade leather craft items, which were great. A lot of chaps.
Lots of really cool things, actually.
Yeah, lots of cool things, but no
if
spreader
you want
bars.
good underwear as a man,
go to the
attractive underwear. It's still not lingerie. I still haven't found any. Mm-hmm. But if you want good underwear, go to a gay man dedicated store.
Yeah,
that's where the shit's at.
That's where it's at.
Fuck yeah.
There was a lot of things in there actually, and there was even hats. Anyway, getting off topic.
No, let's stay on the other stuff. Or should we talk about driving again?
No. So we were fulfilling some fantasies of Mrs. Honeyspoon. So you were whipping her for a while. She was really getting into that. And then she took her lingerie off, which, to be fair, wasn't exactly a significant amount of lingerie anyway.
No, but it adds a little tantalization.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And so she takes that off, and Mr. Honeyspoon...
Ridiculously attractive woman, by the way.
Beautiful woman, inside and out. Lays her on the bed and
I didn't check inside. I'll take a torch with me next time.
But lays her on the bed, puts a blindfold on her. And this is kind of when the fun and the fantasy kind of starts, because what Mr. Honeyspoon had communicated with us the night before was that she is, the deprivation of sight and an unknowing of who is touching her, which cock it is, etc., really is something that she quite enjoys. And so got the blindfold out, the whips and other bits and pieces were out on the bed, and then we started playing with Mrs. Honeyspoon as she kind of laid back and enjoyed it. And all 3 of us, but I'll let you talk a little bit about some of that stuff. But one of the things I really enjoyed about the play session is that it was extremely sexy, absolutely sexy, and there was so much fun, and we'll get into some of this. But
totally silent.
One of the fun things that I liked was the fact that we had somehow all the 3 of us just slipped into this, like, because we wanted to do this whole deprivation thing, let's no one talk, right? Let's go along with the deprivation and let's not talk, and let's kind of signal each other.
And you are well known as being somebody who deals with signals well.
Yeah.
Like, explain to the crowd out there, when I lip mouth things to you, you can't understand them. Right?
No,
like you cannot lip read at all.
No, I'm so bad at it.
Which is hilarious.
I'm like, what, pink elephant high jump? What are we talking about?
Yeah. So perhaps my mouth doesn't work right. That's the other explanation, right? It could be that. It maybe you're the expert lip reader.
Yeah.
Maybe you're superstar at it. No, my mouth just doesn't move enough. But yes, we did all go into silent lip reading and also hand gesture mode.
Like sign language mode.
Yeah. Like weird sign language though, like sign language that nobody in the room truly understands.
Well, okay, so here's one of the...
Except the sit on her face one, which we all got, and you were like, nah.
There was a moment where Mr. Honeyspoon and I were manoeuvring positions, and I think you had your cock in Mrs. Honeyspoon's mouth at the time.
I did, and it was amazing.
He came over and we were both like manoeuvring from different positions, and there was a moment where I was explaining to him to like massage down her labia, down the side of her clit, like move his fingers in a V shape down her labia. And he thought I was saying like sit on her face because it's your fingers are in a V. And so there was this moment where I was like, no. like massage down her labia nice and sensual with like the clit in the middle and just like brush up against the clit and really nice. And like we've got all this beautiful
lube. It's fucking lube, babe.
We use the same lube that we use. And it was just this funny. So I really enjoyed the fact that there was super sexy moments in amongst all of this, but there was an element of like fun and not taking yourself or the situation too seriously.
I think the funny thing is for the three of us on the outside of the deprivation circle, we all had these little chuckle things going on, but for Mrs Honeyspoon, there was none of that. Like she saw none of that.
No, she didn't see any of that.
All she had was a penis coming from this way, a vagina coming from this way, somebody's face in her pussy.
It would have actually been really funny for her if we'd have put like a fly on the wall camera or something for her to watch later, just to see. I don't know whether that would ruin the experience for her, but just to kind of see what was happening. Because like you said, she didn't get to experience any of that, just the three of us did. And so now I think the three of us have kind of got this like ours. Fun little...
It's our thing.
It's our thing.
Yeah, it's not hers. She just got the raging orgasms and fucking, sexual experience.
Yeah.
The rest is ours.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're never going to tell you what happened.
So basically, we were going down on her. We were giving her a yoni massage at one point.
Was it us, though?
Was it us? Who knows?
Could it have been people from the street?
Just hired actors in from the street. And we were also using some of the whips around her neck, putting her hands back behind her head, sucking on her nipples and essentially touching her and going down on her. And as I said, yoni massage. And all of this was kind of happening.
3 people all at the same time, I might add.
But at one point I was signaling, and I don't think this one's a hard one to get, which was I was using both of my hands and saying, both get up near her head and put your cocks in her mouth and like force feed her with both cocks kind of thing,
Yeah.
And when I did that signal of like moving my hands...
We all thought you were dancing.
Beside my face, like mouth kind of situation, both of you were like, oh yeah, we get that one. That was an easy one to get.
Yeah, we thought you were dancing to start with.
What was your favourite part of that play session or anything that stood out?
Well, there were a lot of standout things. For starters, I got to go down on Miss Honeyspoon.
Yeah.
And also... there was a lot of kissing and...
She's a very good kisser, actually. I really enjoy kissing her.
I do like her kisses.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was quite stoked because she complimented me on my kissing and I'm like, yeah.
How would she know it was you?
Well, this was later. Anyway. So, yes, very good kisser. Very... How do I say this? Like, sort of... I'd say sexually engaged, but that's not what I mean. She's like really in the moment, which I quite like. She was very... excited about what was happening and her body was tense.
I think that's what happens with her with the deprivation as well, right? She can be in the moment. So
yeah, but so yeah, there were many things. The kissing was one. Going down, being able to go down on such a beautiful pussy. What else? Well, of course, I managed to get to actually fuck her.
You fucked her after he did, and he actually wore a condom especially for this moment too. So. I think you guys were fairly close to each other, and I don't know how you guys signaled that. That was an interesting, because I was doing something else, but I know at one moment he was fucking her, and then there was this really like, I don't know, like Grand Prix level pit change that happened and where he was like, okay, like I'm fucking and thrusting, and then he was going like deep in and deep out, and the reason he was doing that was to enable the quick change.
Yeah.
And so how did you, what happened there? Was it just like this, were your brains molded into one brain and then you just kind of figured it out? Or
yeah.
what?
So it was quite cool, right? Because he sort of shuffled me in from behind whilst he was involved in it, whilst he was fucking her. And then he's like, and then he sort of gives me a signal like, okay, I'm going to go this way. You should go this way.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was cool. It was very cool. And it was.
I think I was kissing her or something at the time.
You were trying to keep her occupied, keep her mind off the cocks.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's been a long time coming, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Well, you haven't spent as much time with them as I have.
No, absolutely. But I mean, I've always found them both very interesting, intelligent, sexy.
Funny as hell. They're so much fun to play with.
Yeah.
Just hang around with, play with. Like,
absolutely.
It's so nice.
Yeah, it's one of the issues, right? Because
so much fun to fucking away.
No, they're so much fun to hang out with. You end up hanging out, drinking, and not fucking.
Yeah. I have to say, watching her be pleasured by all of this.
Oh, yeah. It was cool.
Watching, like you said, her body tightening, writhing, like pushing up. And she's very, I wouldn't say vocal in terms of like crazy vocal, but what I mean is that she's she lets you know both in her body language and in her mannerisms and her moans and stuff. She lets you know whether or not something is pleasing. And that to me is always great because that's what you kind of want out of a partner, right? But that is really sexy to watch.
Certainly to start when you're still
you have no
literally
idea.
Feeling your way around.
Yeah. So that was really sexy. Watching like you guys with the hard cocks. I think when you were both doing the feeding of the cocks. No, when she was sucking your cocks, feeding cock backwards and forwards. I was actually, and again, like giving her a yoni massage. And there was a moment where, actually this is really funny, where you guys were up feeding her the cocks and I was giving her a yoni massage and I was massaging her clit. I had fingers inside of her and I was doing the come hither moment and everything else. And then at one point, because she was further away from me and there was music playing and there was cocks happening and everything was there, she said something to like that, please don't stop or don't stop. And all I heard,
no, don't stop.
All I heard was stop.
You heard no stop.
I heard no stop. And so there's a moment where I had my concentration going and I looked up and I was like, I stopped and I was like, did she just say no stop? And Mr. Honeyspoon was like, no, keep going. She said, no, don't stop. And then I was like, fuck, I ruined it.
Yeah,
There's nothing worse than being, as a woman, I know this sensation where you're like, stay in that exact place, like don't fucking move. And then the other person's like, what? And then it's like, oh, I want to shoot you in the head so bad.
Yeah, and luckily we managed to pin her down and stop her from shooting you in the head.
But the sound of her coming is something that is burned into the back of my memory. That is a really sexy thing.
Yes, I agree.
So we finished up playing. How long do you think we're playing for?
It wasn't that long. I mean, maybe 45 minutes maybe.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
It felt longer than that.
I mean, there was a lot going on.
Yeah.
Maybe it was. I don't know.
Yeah,
but it was certainly a lot of fun. Lot of fun.
And then we sat on the bed naked afterwards waiting for the takeaway sushi to arrive. We sat on the bed naked just talking and hanging
still
out.
Got to eat, right?
Yeah. Hanging out and sitting on the bed naked. Those moments are always fun. So it's always nice to just like sit on the bed afterwards listening to music and chatting and, after you've just had this really awesome experience together and just kind of, I don't know, just being normal people. Like there was nothing taboo. There's no one shy about it. There's no one like, oh my God, this just happened. It's just like cool. And then laughing and chatting and listening to music and that sort of stuff. Well, the sushi came.
Yeah, FYI.
Yeah.
Really want to do that again.
Yeah, no, me too. Checks flights to Canada.
So we went to Montreal. We had a wonderful lunch at a really awesome vegan bar in the gay village.
Went to a bunch of gay sex shops, which was
did,
fun.
which was
great
fun.
Underwear lines.
Yep.
Got a new cock ring.
Got a new cock ring.
Which Daryl showed me how to put on.
Yes, thank you, Daryl. And yeah, so I just think, we got to the Airbnb. We were intentional about what our plans were going to be. So we canceled dinner plans, which I thought was quite funny. And we just suggested that we were all going to go back, shower, get naked, see what happens, order in food. And then that evening we were going to go to the sex club. So
I didn't think we were going to see what happens. I think we had talked about a fantasy scenario that you were looking for the previous day. So
I wasn't part of that conversation, in fact. So why don't you tell us about it?
I was. I had asked you about it. If
you asked me about it, but I didn't know what was going on between the three of you.
Well, one of Jess's little kinks is to be blindfolded and play Whose Hands Is It? And so that's a great transition game, especially if everyone's naked and someone's blindfolded. So Jess was the willing participant. Excellent volunteer, excellent participant.
Thank you.
And after being flogged a little bit in the living room, we transitioned to blindfold on, and then whose dick is it?
Yeah, so from my perspective, I leaned over, I had lingerie on, you started to flog me. They were still kind of coming out of the shower, doing their thing. We had music playing, we had amazing lighting. You started to flog me, and then Daryl came in and he started to flog me, and I was like, I'm at a 4 right now. So he amped it up and I really started to get turned on. I was wearing lingerie, so I had peeled off the lingerie. As I was peeling off the lingerie, you placed the blindfold on my eyes and laid me on the bed. So after that point,
on your back.
On my back. I had no idea what was going on. Yeah, so in terms of, I won't do it, I know we do this top 3. I won't do the top 3, but certainly the highlights for me was just not knowing whose hands were on me, and everybody was touching me lightly and sensually. And then, a couple of people knew, or we had communicated my interest in just a little bit of like kind of like choke play. So then I believe it was Kate.
Oh, don't even guess. You have no idea.
I think it was
going
Kate.
on.
She had placed the flogger over my neck and was just pressing down, and it was so erotic and sexy. Oh my God, I was losing my mind.
And we were communicating through broken sign language to each other of everything we were going to do. And it was improv. We hadn't talked about it ahead of time. None of us are qualified in sexual sign language, so that made it difficult. At one point, I thought Kate was going to kind of sit on your face, and really it was just massage your clit with a V pattern. So as you can see, different communications happen differently throughout the session. Overall,
interpretations of the communications.
Overall, it was excellently orchestrated because we didn't want to talk and kind of ruin your vibe. We wanted to kind of be silent but sexy.
Yeah. So from my perspective, it was just, I could hear some moans happening. So I don't know if you were touching her while this was all happening around me, but I could definitely hear some moans, and it was pretty quiet. But I think I came 2, if not 3 times. I'll say 2 times clitorally, and then once at the end with whoever was fucking me, which I believe, well, we'll just pretend I don't know who it was.
You didn't, because I put a condom on too, so
I know you did.
You don't know who it was going to be.
Yeah, so both men were fucking me with a condom, so I had no idea who it was. Although I kind of know what your cock feels like, but we'll just go with I didn't know who it was. But it felt amazing, and I had an amazing orgasm. So all that to say, we just sat around afterwards, and we're listening to music, and then we ordered food, and we were drinking wine, and we were laughing, and then we got dressed up to go to bed.
Sushi.
So we ordered sushi.
Let's talk about the club. So we had this play session, and we did all of this, as I said, as soon as we got to the Airbnb, we showered, we had this play session, and we did the reverse.
Yes, you're correct. We showered.
We did the reverse date. We freshened up. No, we did the reverse date where you play and then you have the dinner and then you go out. But we were going to a local club. So let's talk about Le Club L in Montreal. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
So the first thing about this place is that you do have to register online beforehand. So it's not something that you can just rock up to, right? You have to actually register first, and then they write back to you or something to that extent. I can't really remember. I remember Mrs Honeyspoon was like, sent me a link and said, fill this in, and I went, cool, thanks. And then I can't remember what else was happening from there. The price-wise, it was 140 Canadian dollars to get in, so that's about 102 or 100 US dollars, let's call it, to get into the club. They have free food. We tried poutine for the first time.
I'm glad you got that right.
Yeah, I've been practicing.
You didn't get it right while we were there.
No. Later in the evening, like just before we left, we tried poutine for the first time. But they do have free food.
Poutine's it was
good.
really good.
Well, and we said to the Honeyspoons, is this poutine a representation of a medium one, a bad one? Like, because you don't know when you try a dish for the first time. But it was fucking good. It was big. That was too much, though.
Yeah, we got 4. We should have got 2.
We should have got 2. Fat bastards.
But we were sitting in the club like Russian mafia.
Yeah,
we had the best table overlooking the dance floor.
We
the 4
did.
of us, and it was what do you call it? I suppose it's like two love seats kind of attached, because in the middle it's got that. There's a wooden piece. So I don't know what you call that when it's like a 4-seater love seat. Anyway.
Let's quickly do a review of the club, and then let's go and talk about the sex we had in the club as well. Because
I think there's a whole lot of things to cover here, because there's the gangster move that you ladies pulled on the way back from the bathroom.
There's so much to cover.
Well.
Okay, hold on. Let me start at the beginning. So when you first arrive, you go to the check-in desk, and some of the things that I really enjoyed about this club was the check-in staff at the desk will say to you, hey, do you know what kind of club this is? So they're already starting to talk to you, making sure that you're aware of things like consent and stuff. If it's your first time, they also know that. And when it's your first time there, they actually hand you a LED candle, an LED candle.
But like a really, like a can, not a tabletop candle, not like a tea light, but an actual tall candle.
Like old school dinner table.
Yeah.
You know, like
thing that goes on a fucking candelabra.
Candelabra, yeah. So they hand you that as newbies to the club. And the reason, so then you walk into the club and then you are seated at your area, and that's where your candle stays. And the reason they do that is they want to come and take you on a tour. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But it's to identify you as a newbie, and I really like that. So after you walk in to the club, they've got seating areas downstairs, they've got a bar downstairs, they've got a dance area downstairs, and then they've got this mezzanine, which is where they had us. So up a couple of stairs, like 5 or 6 stairs, you go up, and we had this area where it overlooked the rest of the dance floor. And behind our seats, there were more seats and there was booze and there was another little food
gangsters,
area.
man.
But it did look like we were someone because the way they'd sat us, it was like we just overlooked everything and like the four of us kind of swanned in.
And it also helped that I didn't bring my glasses. And when they said, what do you want to drink? And I looked down the list of champagnes, of course not realising that there was an area for white wine and champagne.
Sparkling
wine and champagne. And I'm like halfway down going, man, this is not cheap. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to have to buy a bottle of whatever this is. And then later.
Yeah, so you ordered a bottle, I think it was like $130 or $150.
It was a lot of money.
Because you came back and you were like, you whispered to me, you're like, fuck, the drinks are expensive, babe.
The drinks are not expensive.
The French champagne is correctly priced for what it is. Anyway,
exactly.
So as you can imagine, we've got this massive like white lounge thing with like gold trim around it and a table and looking over the fucking dance floor, right, the four of us. And then all of a sudden comes a massive like champagne holder and the 4 champagne flutes and this person's like pouring our champagne. So yeah, it did feel like...
Felt gangster.
It felt fucking gangster. And I kind of liked that. And it's also one of the ways that if you're going into a club, like that shit gets you noticed. Like people around you are like, who the fuck are these people?
Yeah. FYI, nobody.
We just, you know what, it was a combination of like, there was 4 of us and that's where they sat us, and then Daryl not bringing his old man glasses and can't read shit.
Yeah, exactly. But interesting, so the club is, so first impressions when I walked through the door.
Yeah,
through from the outside. So there's like a curtain, right? Was it a curtain or a
door? There was an actual door, yeah.
It's an actual door. Sorry, I can't remember. So when we walked through that, my first impressions was, wow, like it's really tastefully
it's very
decorated,
nice.
Right?
It is very
it's quite
sexy.
sparsely decorated, which is kind of, well, certainly my style, which I now inflict on you.
Well, I mean, I understand what you're saying there. Like, I wouldn't say sparsely. I would say it wasn't cluttered, because when you say sparse, people think there's nowhere to sit, and there wasn't. Actually, there was ample,
plenty of places to sit, stand.
Yeah. There was high tables. There was low actual dining room tables. Then at the back there was those
couches and
the booth.
Yeah, there's some booths
3 or 4
as well.
Booths behind us. So there was ample places.
Yeah, there's plenty of bars as well. So there's a bar downstairs,
miniature bar upstairs on the mezzanine area.
On the mezzanine, yeah. So and food as well.
High ceilings. I think that's what you mean. You were like a high, really well laid out, a nice space. It wasn't cluttered.
Yeah, and it wasn't compressed. It was exactly what I like as a house. I kind of like the fact that we've got reasonably high ceilings. We've also got not a lot of stuff laying around. You know, it's very well organized, but also well put together. Like it actually felt like a nice French bar.
It did actually.
That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things when we go to clubs, when you get this first impression and you walk in and the lighting is on point. The lighting in there was on point. It wasn't too bright. It wasn't too dark. The music was on point. It was not only the music that fit the genre of the club, but actually, it also wasn't.
Do you remember the DJ was fucking awesome?
That's what I was going to say.
Actually complimented the DJ on the way out. He was really good.
Yeah. From
start to finish. The whole time we were there, he was just racking things together that really kept the vibe high and people moving and interested and excited. And it was, the music adds a lot to the environment, or it can take away a lot.
To me, a music in an environment like that can make or break a lot of your experience.
Absolutely.
Because music drives the mood of the venue and drives the mood of the patrons, right? And so when we first got there, he was playing very sensual French, like the music that he was playing was sexy in my mind, and it really fit with the atmosphere. And then having all of these,
but it kept graduating as well. It did graduate. Like it went from what you're describing all the way through to
something with a bit more bass.
Strong bass by the end of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
but again, the whole time we could talk to each other. We didn't have to yell at each other.
Mm-hmm.
So don't get me wrong, our voices were elevated. We had to speak up.
Yeah.
So it was loud enough to be cool, but quiet enough that you could actually hold a conversation if you needed to, which was good.
Yeah.
So yeah, we walked in, and after seeing the place, I think you guys were taken up to the table. I went straight to the bar to get the drinks.
Yeah.
or a bottle of. I will take a bottle of premium champagne.
I'll take a bottle of your finest champagne.
So,
no champagne up in here.
No. So we after that, I came back up and we were sitting just kind of checking out the room for a while, right? Because they had a, I don't even know what you'd call that. They had a horse.
So it was a BDSM kink night.
It was.
And so they bought some of the equipment downstairs on the dance floor. But looking around too, one of the things that really added to the ambience for me was the candles. So the reason they had the candles, as I said before, is so they can identify the newbies. And the reason they want to do that is because every single person that comes to the club for the first time must go on a tour. Must go on a tour of the playrooms. The playrooms are all up on the next level.
Which also includes instruction on how to and not to engage with other people.
Yeah. And they came along and they said, hey, we're going to do these tours. Like the French tour starts in 10 minutes and then the English one starts in 30 minutes. And we were like, English, please. So they come and collect you and then they take you up on the tour. So the playrooms are up on the next level. I really enjoyed the fact that the stairs lead into a vulva. So actually overlooking the frame of the top of the stairs is actually labia.
I noticed you touched the clitoris like 3 or 4 times.
And I loved that. I thought that was really playful and cool. We get up into the first section and immediately the staff member starts talking to us about consent, about the type of club this is, about when the playrooms operate, how they operate, rules on the doors being closed. She took us on a full walkthrough.
Yep.
So we saw the playrooms there with doors that can close for private play. She said, don't lock them. If you do, we'll come and unlock it and we'll actually remove you. She took us into different areas. She showed us where all the cleaning wipes and lube and condoms, and she took us basically through everything. So they've got multiple playrooms. They've got an orgy and a group room. It's like a boardroom thing.
She also kept it pretty light and playful as well,
She
though.
did.
Like it was instructional.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it was at least a lighter version of instructional. So it didn't, certainly, for people who are there first time round, it wouldn't make you feel that you could get thrown out at the smallest thing.
Well, I think so because it was BDSM and kink night, and I don't know whether this is her usual style, whether this is just her always, but she was definitely dressed in more of a dominatrix, domineering kind of outfit, right? And so she was playing to that. And so when she was like saying these things about the rules here or consent, and, she was keeping it playful, and she was saying like, don't make me come and like spank you and this sort of stuff. So you're right. She was keeping it educational and instructional, but not like just sterile.
Yeah, not sterile, which was good. I thought that was a good way to go.
Yeah. So they had some BDSM equipment upstairs. They'd also taken some downstairs to the dance floor for later because of the type of event it was. And each room had its own towel, basin, wipes, condoms, super well stocked.
Yep.
So overall,
lots of stuff.
Yeah. The average, what would you say about the average age and body shape of this club in comparison? Like, what would you say?
I think it was a reasonably similar age group to what we normally see in the US.
European clubs?
Not in European clubs, no.
You think it was slightly...
It's standard US sort of age
okay.
North American, I would say, age group. So sort of from middle 30s through to middle 50s.
Okay.
I think somewhere between there and there.
I must have been wearing rose-coloured glasses because I likened the demographic of people there to what we see in European clubs, not US clubs.
Yeah, okay.
So in my experience, I was saying that the average age of a person was probably younger than what we maybe see in US clubs, more like what we see in French and European clubs. And I also thought that the way people dressed as well, I thought that people really seemed to put in a lot of effort into their attire. More so than some of the other countries that we've been in around the world as well. So that was nice to see. I thought people had gone to a lot of effort. So I actually found the demographic to be slightly younger.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't have, I mean, it wasn't chalk and cheese, though. I don't think it was such a big difference.
Okay. Maybe those rose-coloured glasses, I guess.
Well, I mean, you did just get, a beautiful young lady coming on your finger's face and husband's cock a few hours before.
So
your glasses may have been a little rosier than
rose-coloured,
usual.
yeah. So there was a move that I pulled. I did 2 moves in this club. One of them was that we were talking and I turned around and Daryl was to my left and Mrs Honeyspoon was directly to my right and then Mr Honeyspoon was next to Mrs.
I like that we changed where we sat throughout the night.
That was good too.
We just, because all 4 seats, well, the whole chair is pointing one direction, right?
Yeah.
So we just kind of
moved
around between each other all night, which was cool. I like the fact that we were all comfortable enough to do that.
Yeah. That was nice as well. Yep. But there was a moment where I was kissing you. I then turned to my right, kissed Mrs Honeyspoon, and then I leaned over the top of Mrs Honeyspoon and pulled Mr Honeyspoon into me and then kissed him and then went back and kissed Mrs Honeyspoon again. And I was like, pro move.
Yes.
Give myself a little fucking high five.
I think it was a pro move.
And then there was a moment where I decided it was time to get into lingerie. Now, this again is something that in a lot of European clubs, there is a time when you have to get into lingerie. That's the club rules. This club didn't have that, but I just decided that I wanted to get into my lingerie and I was thinking, let's go do that. So I turned to Mrs Honeyspoon. I'm like, hey, I'm going to get in my lingerie. Do you want to get in yours? And she was like, I don't think we can do that. Can you go check with the management? So I did. And they were like, yeah, go for it. We don't care. And then so we went down and we got changed into our lingerie. And the little kinky minx that Mrs Honeyspoon is that on the way back when we were walking, there was a direct path and then there was a walk around the entire dance floor path.
Yeah, looks sexy to the whole room path.
So you and Mr Honeyspoon were sitting up on your mezzanine in your white and gold throne.
Drinking our champagne like gangsters.
What can you explain, like, when you saw us come out, like, what were you...
Well, we didn't see you come out because when you walked from the bath or the change area around the back of the dance floor, we couldn't see you back there, right? So it's only when you came, because we were sitting basically right in front of the dance floor, right beside the DJ, and you both came strutting out onto the dance floor, which was also had other things on it, like other people and stuff. But the only 2 ladies in lingerie on the ground floor, strutting your way across the dance floor, holding hands, heading up to our chair. I mean, it was funny. I actually leaned over and said, "Yeah, look at these 2 sluts." It was a slutty move. It was a glorious, glorious slutty move.
Well, I think one of Mr Honeyspoon's kinks as well is watching other people watch his wife, and he really enjoys seeing other people just impressed by her. And
I don't think he'd ever have any problem with finding people.
So I imagine for him that was also quite a delightful experience.
Oh, it was sexy as fuck for me as well. Yeah. I mean, it's nothing. We play with single guys for a reason. Yeah. I quite enjoy you being watched and touched, and yeah. So it was very sexy and a total baller move. I really liked it.
Just keeping the gangster kind of theme going.
Absolutely. Like actually what it felt like for me was that I was the gangster and the two hookers or sex workers I had for the
slutty
evening.
Whores that you
slutty whores that young slutty whores, sexy, walking across the dance floor to come up and dance around me because, they almost have to, because otherwise they'll get shot in the face or something.
Speaking of dancing, before we did actually move up and we had some playtime, and I want to talk about that in a second, but you and Mrs Honeyspoon actually went and had a bit of a dance together because you are both dancers in previous lives.
Yeah.
And that was kind of fun to watch you guys just enjoying and having a bit of a fun time together. Mr Honeyspoon and I sat back again on our throne watching. That was quite cool as well. I enjoyed that.
She's a better dancer than me. She
is a better dancer than you.
Fuck off.
What?
Dick move, man.
I just call it how I see it, man.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about playtime.
No, not yet. So before we get to that, we have to say, so there were a few things. So we met the manager of the business as we came in.
The owner.
We met the manager of the business as we came in. She was lovely. Mm-hmm. And then she introduced us to the owner as well, because somehow they got word of the podcast. I think it was the email you sent or something. But that's not why we were seated where we were seated, because they didn't realise who we were until we arrived.
Yeah.
But anyway, who we were. You get what I mean. They didn't realise that we'd had a podcast, but it was really nice. So she came up and said hello and sort of gave us a bit of history on the place, and they struggled through. So they launched the club just before COVID.
Just before COVID.
Fuck. Worst time ever to launch, but I think the place looks amazing, and I'm sure they'll do really well. I mean,
Yeah.
it was on that night, BDSM night, it was still quite full.
Yeah.
As well.
So she came over and spent a bit of time.
Typically, when we've gone to BDSM nights, they're a little less full.
Yeah.
Than like swinger nights.
Yeah, unless it's like a BDSM focus club. But she did come and spend some time with us and speak to us for quite a while and just spoke about, like you said, their history and everything else. And that was really cool to see as well.
Also, just going to throw it out there, both of those ladies are hot as balls, just FYI.
Yeah, they're both very attractive women.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we decided to go to Sex Club, which is Club L in Montreal. And I don't know, what did you think of the club?
That was amazing. Best sex club we've ever been to. I mean, we haven't been to a lot, maybe 5. That was our 5th or 6th. 5th, maybe. It was great. It's best one ever. I'd go back to it for sure.
So what were your highlights? What made it the best one ever for you?
I mean, it ticked all the boxes. It was clean, well managed, well run, great rules, good talk about consent from the staff before you get in. Amazing tour. We met the owner who kind of walked through the story of the club. Patrons were all sexy, well-dressed people and polite. No one kind of came into your space. If you wanted to talk to people, you could. A very free environment. And then the fact that it was almost, I mean, one of the things, I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, one of the things I love about these, like Keto and Desire and that is that, you can have food after your exhaustive, sexcapades, and food's included. And it's excellent. Like gourmet food is included. Gourmet poutine is included in the price of your ticket. So, and we had friends that had been there, so it really ticked all the boxes. But I won't go into you can go into the playroom piece in more detail. But overall, it was like one of those clubs that you're always looking for.
Yeah, so I would agree with everything that you said, especially the fact that the Patreons, like this would be a big differentiator for me. And I know this is a result of it being Montreal, Quebec, beautiful people, all of that. But yeah, I found that and it's a little hefty on the price tag to get in. So I think it kind of weeds out, the not so quality people.
Payer pour la qualité.
C'est ça. So, all that to say, just a couple of highlights for me before we went to the playroom. I saw a whole other side of Kate that I hadn't seen before. I don't know if you felt this way or not, but all of a sudden it was like...
Wait, you didn't say Daryl bought us an awesome bottle of champagne.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you, Daryl.
Thank you, Daryl.
I think he meant to buy sparkling wine, but accidentally bought the more expensive one. You know what? The fact that he paid for it, who gives a shit, right?
Yeah,
so.
And none of us had glasses except for Kate anyway,
Right,
so it was like, perfect. Like,
So-
what do we order here?
we'll blame old age. So, so at one point we were also sitting there, we're listening to music, we're kind of dancing a little bit, we're touching each other a little bit, and she just leaned over. Do you remember this time when she just leaned over and she looked at you and she grabbed you by the chin and she pulled you in and she started making out with you? And then she looked at me and she did the exact same thing, and I was like, who is this fucking person?
That's hot.
So that was pretty sexy. And then about 30 minutes after that, she said, you know what, I think we should get changed into our lingerie. Now, keep in mind, the entire lower level doesn't have anyone wearing lingerie. So the fact that she had suggested this, I went into risk-adverse mode, and I was like, well, maybe we should ask the owner if that's allowed. So she went and asked, and they were like, yep, I think the patrons would be quite happy if you changed into your lingerie. So Kate and I went to the bathroom. It's a unisex bathroom. We changed, we came out, and we're walking out, and I said, you know what, let's take the long way around the dance floor and walk through the middle of the dance floor with just our lingerie on, and the two of us holding hands and walk through the middle of the crowd like bosses, because we were wearing our heels and our lingerie, and everybody else was clothed around us, and it was it felt like such a sexy scene. I don't know, from your perspective when you were watching that.
Daryl and I were playing rock, paper, scissors, so we missed it. I'm joking. It was hot. It was just, I mean, it's that hot thing that I think Daryl and I both like, is watching, men and women kind of, look towards our significant others and, in appreciation and, sexiness and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was fun to watch all the heads turn, and it certainly created a movement up to the playrooms, which we noticed that if we didn't get up there soon, we're not going to get a room.
Right, so playtime. So we head upstairs. We decide, okay, we better get upstairs. I think this was maybe 11 p.m. roughly, because we thought if we don't get up there now...
Well, there was a whole lot of people disappearing from the dance floor.
Yeah, we were like, we're not going to get somewhere to play.
Yeah.
So
and lucky we did.
We snagged,
there was only one room.
We snagged the last room with a private door.
But it also only had a small
little window to look in.
Small window, which was...
I think Mr. Honeyspoon would have preferred a slightly larger window for people to peek into.
I mean, I'm fairly happy to have other people watch me fuck two gorgeous ladies as well. Yeah.
Now, I know the Honeyspoons actually covered some of this playtime in their recap, so we probably won't go into like super amounts of detail because I want to hear from them and what they think. But we snagged a room upstairs. We did play for quite a while, various positions. Dee and Mrs. Honeyspoon, again, fucking. We also watched Mr. Honeyspoon fuck Mrs. Honeyspoon.
Which was sexy.
Holy shit, that was sexy.
Yeah.
That was so sexy.
Yeah.
A highlight from me as well was the 3-person pile that we'd managed to get ourselves into.
There was actually 4 people involved in that.
I'm getting there. So I was on my back and on the bottom, and then Mrs. Honeyspoon was over the top of me, kissing me and touching my pussy, etc. And then Mr. Honeyspoon came from behind and started fucking Mrs. Honeyspoon. And so then what I did...
So she was in dog position over the top.
Yeah, over the top. And so then I wrapped my legs around the other 2 of them, so all the way around Mr. Honeyspoon. But then he actually put my legs over the top of Mrs. Honeyspoon's back and crossed them over and was using my legs
as leverage
down as well. So that was what was happening. You'd just been finished fucking, and so I think you were sitting there and then you grabbed the vibrator and you came in underneath Mr. and Mrs. Honeyspoon, and then you put the vibrator on my clit and then gave me an orgasm whilst I was watching Mr. Honeyspoon fuck Mrs. Honeyspoon. I was kissing her.
And her having an orgasm.
But then this is the best part of it. I looked to my left, which was where all the mirrors were, and I watched this whole scene unfolding, and then you had the vibrator on my clit, and I was like, this is the best thing ever, and then I came all over the place. I did like the option to clean up, so they did have the basin and wipes and so many towelettes and stuff in the room that because we were maneuvering around different positions so much, and then we were also, at one point I was using my toy and Mrs. Honeyspoon was using her toy, and because we were doing all of these things with...
multiple pussies, multiple penises, you had the ability to clean them as well.
Yeah, and so all of us, every time we'd like take a break from a position or whatever, all of us would get up and freshen up. And that was really... I really appreciated the fact that club had that option, because in Australia, a lot of the clubs or OSS that we always used to go to had that in every room, and then we didn't see that in a lot of other clubs around the world, and so that for me was fantastic. Anything else that you want to do before we do the recap from the Honeyspoons, because I want to share that here.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm sure the recap's sexy AF, but I have to say it was a lot of fun. It was really sexy. It was a sexy environment. The couple that we were playing with, Mr. and Mrs. Honeyspoon, are just fucking adorable in many ways and also sexy as fuck. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was a whole lot of fun.
Watching them fuck was definitely a highlight as well. Both of them have very sexy bodies, so that's just a real big turn on. And, yeah, at one point I was whispering to Mr. Honeyspoon, like, about when he was fucking Mrs. Honeyspoon too, about the people that were watching. Yeah, because he kind of likes that element of it as well. So I was getting involved there with like, oh, this is happening.
There was a lot of sexy talk going on in the room, actually. I think there was, I think all of us were engaged in a lot of slutty words. And
definite fun, sexy time. Both the kink side of it at the Airbnb, but then later playing all 4 of us intermingled in that room was a really, really fun and sexy time.
Agreed.
So just to give a little tidbit on what the layout is in the playrooms, I don't know, there's probably 12 playrooms upstairs. Doors can be closed open. There's different beds and boardrooms for orgies and things like that. Really great setup. But once it fills up, people are, on couches and chairs in the hallways doing it. So we kind of wanted to have our own time. So we got upstairs and there was one playroom left and we jumped into it. Kate and I stayed there. You and Daryl went down the hallway to see if there's any other ones available. There weren't. Came back in, we closed the door, but there was a window which was really sexy. And closed door means that, people can watch through the window, but they can't come in. Mm-hmm. And I think we transitioned pretty quick at that point.
Yeah, it happened fast. Yes.
A lot of pent-up sexual energy at that point.
Yeah. So I think...
From this afternoon and from the, previous days, here in Ottawa. And
in 2.5 years, perhaps. Yeah. So lots of play. We, played with each other. They played, there was some parallel play at the beginning, and then we swapped a little bit. I finally got a little bit of time with Kate, not as much as I had wanted to, but we'll...
Same here. It was amazing.
To be continued, hopefully.
It's always to be continued. But it's nice to spend some quality time with people that you're really into.
Yeah, so highlights in that playroom and that play area for me, just quickly, would be... am I the only one that thinks that Kate's sounds are the hottest sounds?
Yeah.
Actually, Daryl has really hot sounds too, though. When he's about to come, it's pretty sexy. So for me, just hearing that side of them was really sexy. It really got me going. Seeing their dynamic together when they fuck. So she talks dirty to him and she's fucking him and he just loves it. So I thought that was really sexy.
It's nice to find other dirty talkers because you and I are dirty talkers. When we're not at home with children around, they have to be super silent. But dirty talking is a huge turn on for us. Some people find it really uncomfortable. Find other couples like to do it. It's really sexy. It really adds to the dynamic, and playing scenarios, and then explaining to the people who couldn't see, how many people were watching the window. At some point, there was 2 unicorns in the window watching us and tapping on the window to get in. And so I was thinking about, oh my God, imagine if we let them in, and it was a big pile. And then at another point, there was 2 other couples staring in the window when we were doing some other position, and I couldn't see them because my back was turned, but Kate was explaining who was watching, and
she's very good at using her words.
Pretty hot scenario happening there.
And then the other highlight for me was when so at one point I was on top of Kate and I was just sort of, kind of scissoring her just a little bit, kissing her. We were getting, hot and heavy. You got really turned on and you came up behind me as I was on top of her and you started to fuck me. So it was her on the bottom, me in the middle, and you fucking me on top. And she was just kind of moving with us. And we looked over to the right and there was a lateral mirror across the wall where we could see everything happening. And we could also see the reflection of people looking in through the window. And I think Daryl at that point had just finished coming, so he was just in the corner watching, and it was just such
her legs were wrapped around you.
Oh my God, it was
I had
so
her
sexy.
feet in my hands, which I love, and I was massaging her feet while I was fucking you, and you were grinding against her pussy. So it was
so hot. So that was awesome. And then we got dressed, and then we went downstairs.
No, then we had a group masturbation session where everyone was just jerking
off.
off.
That's right, we did that too. Shit.
Why not?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and I hadn't come yet, so I was in a mission to come, and I'm I put way too much pressure on myself, and I'm it's not going to happen tonight. Or, it'll happen later.
It'll happen later.
And it certainly did. But.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot that her and I laid down on our backs and both had our vibrators, and I forgot about that. Oh gosh, that was hot too. Okay, this went longer than I expected.
And then we left the room. We got dressed.
Yes.
Sink. Now, beautiful layout. I mean, there was a bed, one large bed, I'd say a double in the room, with another single bed. So one person could always take a break or whatever it was, which was kind of cool. Or you could add a 5th person or another couple in there. It'd probably work. But there was wapes. I don't know if there was mouthwash, but there's lube condoms and a sink in the room. So you clean yourself off. So we got fully dressed, walked out of the room into a scene of debauchery. It was right out of, I don't know.
Eyes wide shut.
Yeah, I guess.
Pretty much. Except they were unmasked.
But I would say a dozen hot couples all fucking on the chairs and the couches.
Partially clothed, which is probably what probably got you going. Yeah.
And then as soon as we opened the door, everyone looked towards us, because they'd been watching the show, and so you give a bow.
I curtsied.
Yeah.
And then we went downstairs and ordered French fries, gravy, and poutine.
No, but even if we had if I'd gone back to that club, and you and I just played on the couch, it would have been a hot scene.
100%. Yeah. Anyway, so all that to say, wonderful evening. We went back together to the Airbnb. We went to bed. We woke up the next.
No, you finished me off.
I did finish you off finally.
Momentous come.
Yes.
Oh my God.
It was time.
I've been waiting for a while.
It was good.
Yeah.
I've been playing all of the Honeyspoon's audio throughout this entire podcast, so I cut it all up and wanted to share different snippets with you guys.
That was a big piece.
But thanks so much for sending that through, guys, and it's great to hear you guys recap it as well. And doing so inside the hot tub was quite a nice little fun thing.
I plan to use it for masturbatory sessions in future.
Absolutely.
And my imagination. Although my imagination, every time I close my eyes and do it, it gets kinkier.
There's a question.
So,
real quick question. Honest truth. How many times have you masturbated since this play session to the thought of the play session?
that's a good question. I mean, I masturbate a lot. So
Yeah, but using that as masturbatory.
yeah, no, I mean, a lot. That's what I'm saying, a lot. So
How many times have you done
I
it?
don't know. It's
I reckon I've probably masturbated to the thought of this session maybe 3 times since then.
yeah, okay, mine's a lot more than that.
How many?
I'm probably got a 0 behind your 3.
Fucking Jesus.
Maybe. I don't know. Or a 1 in front of it. I mean, it's more than 3.
It's more than 3.
A lot more than 3.
Yeah, so definitely gave us a lot of masturbatory fodder.
Fuck yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, we got a new review. Are you ready?
We're back to the review.
We are. This is from Sam in Great Britain, actually. So this says, brilliant podcast, 5 stars. I've been listening for a couple of years now and absolutely love the podcast. It's the perfect balance of fun, sexy, informative, and entertaining. C&D are awesome people. Oh, thank you very much. And always a pleasure to listen to. Really appreciate what you guys do. Thank you so much, Sam from Great Britain. Thank you for leaving us that excellent review. We really appreciate the hell out of you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I think the Australianism for Sam would probably be Sammy.
Sammy.
Guy or
Samo.
girl. Samo for a guy.
Yeah. Sammy for a girl.
Sammy for a girl. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you, Samo/Sammy.
Sammy. Thanks for the review.
Depending on how you identify.
Yeah, so that was episode 157, guys. BDSM Foursome and Le Club L in Montreal review. I will put the links in the show notes for that club if you want to check it out on their website or on socials.
And then we went to bed. And then we woke up and had a nice little espresso latte, cappuccino or something or other at a little cafe.
They drank our
they did.
cappuccinos and we drank their lattes.
Oh, this one thing we know about them now is that they're thieves and liars. But other than
and they
that,
like swapping coffees too.
Yeah,
not
they
only
do.
partners.
It's weird. Yeah. So.
And then we had 18 minutes to get to the airport.
18 minutes to get to the airport.
And we got them to
the airport. Put them on a plane, and I'm missing them.
I know. And then we drove back and had to deal with family and
all the real stuff.
All the real stuff again. So.
Yeah. So anyway, all that to say, we had a wonderful time with them. Kate and Daryl, we absolutely enjoyed all of it, any of it, and we can't wait to see you again. We miss you guys already. Lots of love from Ottawa. Mwah.
Are we under 2 minutes?
No.
What's coming up next? We're going to be doing a review of our week at Hedonism Resort in Jamaica, and we're also going to do a review of the single male night that we went to at Oasis Aqua Lounge in Toronto. So that's our next 2 episodes, but until then, thanks so much for listening.
We met some cool people there too.
We did. Yeah.
Yes.
We'll see you guys next time.
We will. Bye.